When I was younger, I used to live in the Dominican Republic with my grandparents on my father's side and his brother. My dad lived in the United States at the time. My uncle and I shared a bedroom. To clarify, I was a 7-year-old girl and my uncle was 9. And to get to it, you had to go through my grandma and grandpa's room. My room also had another door which led to the backyard. As a lot of you might know, parts of the Dominican Republic can be really dangerous, especially at night when the lights go out. Because the country can't afford to always keep electricity running, we have blackouts multiple times a day, every day, and mostly during the night time when most people are asleep. So nights here are very, very dark. The door in my bedroom that opened to the backyard always scared me because I could hear everything from outside, and it felt like somebody could burst through the door and abduct me. The door was made of long planks of wood laid vertically next to each other. It was the type of wood that always looks like it's rotting. I think it actually was rotting. I faced my bed towards the door so I could see easily if anyone tried to come through. Every night I would fall asleep from the boredom of staring at that door. My grandpa sympathized with me, and eventually he put a huge vintage wooden dresser in front of one door that he bought off the back of some guy's truck. The dresser was so thick and heavy that I instantly felt safer. It started the very first night. As a habit of looking in that direction as I fall asleep, I was staring at the dresser. It was weird to look in that direction now because it was pitch black. I could no longer see the little beams of moonlight between the cracks of the door, or hear the sounds of the wild animals in the yard, or the late night traffic on the street. I remember it was nearing the season for tropical hurricanes, so some nights I could hear faint sounds of the trees swooshing and the door creaking. Some nights the door was louder, like it was finally breaking down from the pressure of the winds. My grandparents didn't see anything wrong with the door in the morning when I told them I was scared that it might be falling apart. We never thought anything of it after that. A few weeks later, we had a huge storm. While I was trying to sleep, I could hear banging and cracking, and creaking and a really loud whoosh and splash and thumps. Naturally, I thought it was just the storm, and so did my uncle. Every night after the storm, we kept hearing similar sounds late at night. It would wake us up. We knew it wasn't the storm anymore, but we would try to be logical and realistic. It was probably the old dresser. It was probably the door because it gets loose off its hinges. It was probably a stray cat scratching its paws on our door because the wood is soft. Cats have weird habits. It was my uncle trying to scare me. It was me trying to scare my uncle. We kept coming up with new excuses every night and blaming each other. All that was kept inside the dresser was blankets, towels, curtains, and various linen for storage, so we never had a reason to look ourselves. The dresser was tall and it had a divider in the middle. The left had shelves where my grandma would fold the towels, and the right half had a hanging rack where she would hang curtains and sheets. Sometimes my grandma would complain that the blankets had dirt on them. She would blame my uncle and me, thinking we were wiping our hands on everything because we were too lazy to wash them. One night, there was a louder than usual thump coming from the direction of the dresser. I woke up in a sudden panic, but my uncle was already wide awake. I immediately thought he was playing games and started yelling at him. My grandpa woke up and came to see what was going on. I told him that my uncle woke me up because he was trying to scare me, but my uncle denied it and said he was woken up by all the noise outside. My grandpa didn't hear anything and told us to stop playing around and go back to sleep. As he started to walk back into his room, we heard another loud thump. My grandpa heard it too. They all got freaked out because that time it sounded like it was coming from inside the dresser. He went to the bathroom and got the oil lamp we keep in there, turned it on and opened the dresser to look. We saw the hanging blankets and curtains move slightly, and right away we saw it. My grandpa quickly stuck his hand in and moved the linen to the side. There was a woman in the dresser, really small and freakishly skinny. There was a big hole on the right side of the cardboard backing of the dresser. It didn't lead to the outside that we could see. The door was still there, but we instantly knew how she got inside from the position she was in when my grandpa opened the dresser. She was standing up with her knees slightly bent, facing towards the hole. Her hand was up and behind the hole, reaching up towards where the frame of the door would be. You could see her whole body, and I still remember what she was wearing. She had a long, flowing, sun-colored shirt. That was too small for her. She had a rag on her head, but we could see her rough black hair sticking out through the gaps. I don't remember if she had any shoes, but I think she probably did. She also had a thin rope wrapped around her wrist, all the way up to her elbow on her left hand. She was holding a plastic bag that had one or a few small things in it. When my grandpa moved the blankets out of the way, she panicked, and we heard that she dropped something. It was a couple of nails and screws, the ones that were holding the door planks together. The plank became loose, and she started to push it with her hands. That was the creaking noise we heard. After a few seconds of struggling, she finally pushed the plank down and started to fit her body through the crack in the door. Her head didn't fit right away, and so my grandpa reached towards her and grabbed her arm. She bit him. She bit him so hard that she almost ripped off his skin. He was bleeding and she didn't let go until he let go of her first. She rammed her head through the door, and we could see how much it actually hurt her to force her head through it, because it made a very distinct scraping sound, and she screamed. She tripped over her skirt when she reached the other side of the door but started to run. We had an outdoor sink and she got on top of it. She climbed the wall that separated our backyard from the backyard of the people on the other side of the street. The wall was made out of cinder blocks, and it was so old and abused that it had a bunch of holes and deformities in it. She used those to climb. While she was climbing, my grandpa ran out of our room, past his bedroom, the living room, and the dining room, and opened the door to the backyard. We followed him, and as we ran by, my grandma woke up. By the time he got the back door open, the woman was more than halfway up the wall. He grabbed a machete he kept behind a broken washing machine we had in the yard. Right next to the door, he ran towards her. He swung at her foot, but missed by a few inches. That exact moment, the electricity came back on, so all of the street lights flickered and turned on. We could see her now. She reached the top of the wall and jumped on the other side. My grandpa had followed us to the yard, but didn't get to see what was really happening. She asked, and my grandpa just started swearing and yelling at the woman. We don't have free emergency services in the Dominican Republic, so there wasn't much we could do because we didn't have any money. Nobody was hurt in the end. We went to examine the door and the dresser and tried to figure out how exactly she got in there almost every night. The woman had removed the screws and nails on one of the planks on the door, cut a hole in the dresser, and was staying in it. That woman was in our room almost every night for about 2 months, sleeping just a few feet away from us. We don't know if she ever stepped out of the dresser and walks into the rest of our home. We didn't go back to sleep for the rest of the night. Before the sun was fully risen, my grandpa was nailing down the door from both sides. He bought a sack of cement and covered the door with it from the outside. He also replaced another door on the side of the house which led to the outside. It was in the same condition as my bedroom door. We didn't see that woman again. I'm glad we didn't meet any closer than we had. I've never posted one of these before, but recently my friend brought up this story that I basically repressed, and I figured people on here would be interested. I'm also using the names from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. For absolutely no reason at all, but just bear with me. It's 3 a.m., so my brain can't come up with actual names. Before I begin, I will clarify right now that I absolutely never led this kid on. Everybody who knew about it while it was happening will say the same. I'm not a flirty person, and I was very careful not to say or do anything to make this boy believe I was into him. So we were traveling back about 7 years, all the way back to when I was around 14. Makes me feel old. I was at a high school sport event, and it was a Friday night game. I can't remember if it was a football game or a baseball game. All I know is it was the last day of school before spring break. I wasn't super into school spirit. I was kind of an emo kid and a loner for the most part, but my best friend pressured me into going. I reluctantly agreed, and looking back, I wish I didn't. I've known her since I was like 4, so if anyone can convince my stubborn ass to do something, it's 100% her. For the sake of remaining anonymous, we'll call the stalker boy Zach and my guy friend Cody. I had met Zach through my friend Cody. Probably spoke to him for about 3 minutes. Honestly, it was more like an introduction, and I didn't vibe with the way he stared at me, so I went back to all my girlfriends and we continued the night. After I got home, I received a text from Cody saying Zach thought I was pretty and wanted my number, so he gave it to him. I didn't really think much about it. I mean, it's not that I wanted him to have my number, but I was super close with Cody and he was reliable, so he would never give my number to someone if he thought something was off with him. So I wake up the next day, on a Saturday, and everything's fine. Towards the afternoon, I receive a text saying, "Hey, it's Zach. Got your number from Cody." We had small talk, basically. I didn't want to be a jerk, so I'd respond. Mainly because he was friends with Cody, so I didn't want to be rude. After about 45 minutes of texting, he tells me he's leaving for a cruise and was really upset I wasn't coming with. So obviously I asked what he meant, and he said he would miss me and hated to be away from me for a week. I definitely thought it was extremely weird, but I figured it was sarcasm or a joke, so I texted back saying something like, "LOL, we spoke for less than an hour. Think you'll be just fine." And he was like, "Yeah, I guess." From my perspective, I had a lot going on in my life. I was very anxious talking to people, and I suffered from depression, and I had daddy issues. I wasn't somebody who could just be like, "You're weird, block number." I was very shy and just didn't know what to do in the situation, so I will admit I let it go longer than I should have. but I was 14 and didn't realize who I was dealing with, to be honest. So he's on the cruise, so I didn't hear from him for a week. Then eventually, he gets off the boat and tells me I'm the first person he wanted to text. He said he couldn't stop thinking about me and all the fun things we could have been doing while on the trip. The rest is pretty fuzzy, but all I really remember is Zach kept saying weird stuff like how we'll get married in the future and how we are soulmates. How he's never been so in love with anyone. He became obsessed with me for some reason. If I didn't respond, he would text me every 5 minutes on the dot, asking if I was mad at him until I responded. It was just a very obsessive behavior. I would tell him I'm busy and he'd get upset. He just needed me to text him constantly. One day, I basically told him that he was taking things too far and I was uncomfortable. I said I was sorry if I had somehow led him on, but think of him more as a friend. He definitely didn't like that response. He was making fake Instagrams to harass me, even threatening me because I broke his heart. Calling me all kind of names, like a whore and whatnot. He was just saying anything and everything to try to hurt me. I spent 6 hours apologizing, while he was telling me that I'm a horrible person. I could not get Zach to leave me alone, for months. After that, my friends had to sneak me around campus to avoid Zach. I'd have to cut through buildings and take the long way to steer clear of him. Eventually, after a few months, he stopped harassing me online and I actually thought I was free. Now flash forward to sophomore year, after months of being in chemistry class, I noticed my friend, we'll call him Max, had the same last name as Zach. It's an uncommon last name, so it was like a little light bulb turned on in my brain and I immediately asked if they were related. And he rolled his eyes and said, yeah. I was like, damn. We ended up chatting and apparently I'm not the only girl Zach would harass. Max told me he got sent to another school and was put in therapy for basically being crazy and aggressive. Zach unfortunately was extremely abusive towards Max. I was relieved he was sent away. Max was definitely more relieved he was sent away. It just made sense why the harassment stopped so suddenly. Now we're entering junior year and Max has informed me his brother is enrolled back at our high school. Thankfully I had a heads up, but nothing would prepare me when I actually saw him face to face. I walk into my English class, and guess who's sitting in my damn classroom? If you guessed Zach, you get a big gold star. The second we made eye contact, he smiled the creepiest smile I've ever seen. I was so scared I almost shit my own spleen out. Thankfully, he never really spoke to me or harassed me. However, he did spend every class staring at me with that scary smile on his face. As much as I wish I was making this up, unfortunately these are true events that really affected me in high school. When my friend brought it up the other day, it honestly felt like a fever dream. Like, I forgot it was all real. It was hard spending 2 whole years of high school terrified of bumping into him, not knowing what he would do, especially after finding out everything his brother Max went through. Now it's been years since I've had to deal with him. I lived in New Mexico for several years before moving to the Midwest. My friends, Amy and I, both females, would spend many days exploring the remote corners of New Mexico, discovering abandoned ghost towns and enjoying the quiet, desolate beauty of the desert. One afternoon in March 2010, we were traveling from Ruidoso to Albuquerque. Always up for exploring, we took a back road rather than traveling the more direct highway. One leg of our journey had us on NM55. It's a remote, teeny-tiny 2-lane highway. We loved those type of roads, up until that day. This part of New Mexico is flat and desolate desert. You can see for miles, and there is virtually nothing except dirt and rock between towns, and towns can be miles apart. So we were on NM55 going north. After a few minutes, we saw a white pickup truck ahead of us going the same direction. Suddenly, he stopped his truck sideways in the middle of the highway, blocking both lanes. We were about a mile away from him, and as we got closer, we began to get uneasy. I could see no reason for him to do this. We were the only other vehicle out there, and we began wondering if we should turn around rather than come up to him and have to stop. We were about half a mile away from him when he pulled over to the opposite side of the highway, but his truck was still pointed in the direction we were going. We tried to relax a little. Surely, this guy was a rancher or something. Maybe he was checking something on his lands. As we passed him, we noticed a few things. One, there was only one person in the truck. A middle-aged guy who never took his eyes off us, and 2, he was talking into a walkie-talkie. A few seconds after we passed him, he pulled back onto the highway and started following us, but he never got too close. He would get to within a few car lengths and then drop back a little, and then speed up again to within a few car lengths. We were getting nervous. We realized how alone we really were. We had seen no other traffic on that road, and we hadn't told anyone about our great idea to take this detour. We checked our cell phones, and neither one of us had signal. typical for remote New Mexico, but scary given our present situation. Amy was driving and speeding up while I was frantically checking the map, hoping to find a road that would have more traffic. There was no other road. We had to travel this one to get to the next town, Mountain Air. Turning around to go back the other way didn't seem like a good option. After a few minutes, we saw another pickup truck coming towards us. It was going very, very slowly, maybe 20 miles per hour if that. This pickup was old and beat up, whereas the one behind us was newer. Amy had us up to 75 miles per hour, which wasn't typical for us on these 55 mile per hour highways, and so we blew by the old pickup. As we passed it, we saw that it was another middle-aged guy, and he was talking to a walkie-talkie. After the white pickup passed him, he pulled a U-turn and pulled in behind it. As we watched all of this, we could see the white pickup truck guy talking to his walkie-talkie. No doubt these two knew each other. We were being deliberately followed. And for the first and only time in my life, I felt hunted. They stayed right behind us. We watched for obstacles in the road, and we truly thought old beat-up pickup guy had set up a trap in the road and our vehicle would be disabled somehow. We talked about driving to the fields. We were in an SUV, but this was obviously their territory and we were afraid of what would happen if we went off-road and got cornered, so we stayed on the highway. By now, the white pickup truck guy was right on top of us. We could see him talking to the walkie-talkie, and he stayed right up on our bumper. And the old beat-up pickup truck guy was right on top of him. The three of us sped down the highway. The white pickup inched closer. His maneuvering and edging closer made it apparent that he was trying to bump us. I watched helplessly as he got to within inches of our back bumper. Amy floored it. We were passing 80 miles per hour and edging up to 90 miles per hour. The road was flat and deserted, but any little thing going wrong would have been catastrophic. We were absolutely not going to slow down or stop if we could help it. The white pickup pulled onto the opposite lane and started to gain speed. The only thing we could think of was that he wanted to pass us and get in front of us. If he got in front of us and his buddy was behind us, then we'd be boxed in and trapped. We looked frantically at the rocky desert on both sides of us. Our only option was to off-road it. Should we risk it? Could we speed through the desert and make it to safety in one piece? As we topped a small incline, we saw a sign that said, Salinas Pueblo Missions National Monument, and it pointed towards the road on the left. And right at that moment, a blue pickup truck pulled out of that road and onto the highway in front of us. As we came up on the blue pickup, we saw the plate said U.S. Park Service. We looked at each other and then looked behind us. Both pickup trucks did U-turns and went the other way. We followed the blue pickup on Mountain Air and then made our way to Albuquerque. I don't know exactly what those guys' intentions were, but they weren't good. There was something seriously wrong out there. I notified the state police and they said they would keep an eye on things. This area is very near Bella, New Mexico, which is where Tara Calico was abducted. It's also about 100 miles from Elephant Butte, New Mexico, which is where David Parker Ray had his little secret torture laboratory. We didn't put all of that together until later. Even though David Parker Ray had died by the time this happened to us, we do believe that there are others out there like him. And whoever abducted Tara has never been caught. Or maybe we came into meth lab territory. But since this happened on an actual highway rather than a backcountry road, I tend to discount the meth lab theory. Whatever is going on out there, it's not good.